I disappeared for almost 1 year, and I could give you reasons and reasons why I did. But I honestly don't want a lie to be the first thing you hear from me after almost a year. So I've decided I'll tell you the truth. Although somewhat ugly, but I'll give it to you all the same. The truth is, I was hiding. Yes, I was hiding. But before you judge me, maybe the reason I was hiding is that same thing that is eating you up alive right now. So before you scroll away from this, I'd like to ask that you consider staying through because this is likely for you. Hi, this is B's Corner Podcast. This is where men say the things they cannot say anywhere else. Let's dive in. Here's what nobody probably tells you about hiding. It doesn't always feel like cowardice, especially in the moment. It doesn't always feel like fear. In fact, most times it feels like protection. It feels like the wisest thing to do in a particular moment. In my own case, I kept telling myself I was going to return when I felt stronger, when I had it together, when I felt like the man I kept telling you all to be. Next week turned into next month, and next month turned to almost 10 months right now of a full-grown man avoiding the camera because he was scared of being seen as a fraud. What do I mean when I say scared of being seen as a fraud? I struggled a whole deal with the idea of being the man to sit in front of the camera and tell young people they could overcome pornography and masturbation. And indeed they can. But coming from the place where that lifestyle was a major stronghold of my life, suddenly I started to find it difficult to reconcile the fact that I now can finally speak boldly about these things, even in front of the camera, and tell the whole world that once upon a time I struggled very badly with pornography and masturbation. You know what the thought is? Finally, people know you for who you truly are. So how dare you set up a camera and sit down and think you can talk to people about, oh, they can overcome pornography and masturbation and all of that. Now, let me tell you the truth. That is how hiding begins, sponsored by shame. But why am I telling you this on a channel where I'm supposed to engage with young people? This is because shame is the machine that runs underneath everything you've been trying to hide. Whether it's the porn you've been trying to break for years, or it's the father wound you've been unable to speak to anybody about, or it's a dream you have completely abandoned. If you look closely, you will find that shame is the operating system that runs underneath all of this. Shame convinces you that hiding is better than being seen, especially being seen in your weakness. You know something that is interesting? The first thing shame ever did to a man in this world was make him hide. If you remember the story of Adam in the Garden of Eden, right after they had eaten the forbidden fruit, right? The fruit that God commanded them not to eat in the midst of the garden. Adam said somewhere in that scripture, when God came calling for him, he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and because I was naked, I was ashamed or afraid, so I hid myself. Now, here was Adam running away from the only person who had the power to redeem him from the situation. Now, that's exactly what shame does to you when it pushes you to hiding. It takes you away completely from the arena or the avenue where you could possibly find help. So how did I get back to sitting in front of the camera like I'm doing right now? Honestly, I didn't get back because I feel like I have it all together now, or that I'm completely fixed. That would be the lie. The lie tells you that you can only return when you're completely fixed, and there's nothing like that. I returned because I realized the hiding wasn't helping the situation. If anything, hiding was completely destroying the one thing I know I was created to do. So I'd rather sit here as a man who is still figuring it out and tell you the truth than portray a picture of a perfect man, and that helps nobody. So let me tell you what B's Corner Podcast is right now. It is certainly no longer a content channel, if it ever was one. B's Corner is a room where men stop pretending and stop hiding. On B's Corner Podcast, I will bring you nothing but the truth. My truth and the truth of other men who are brave enough to write to me. And I'd like to ask one thing of you, that you stop hiding and stop pretending, even if it is just here on this platform for the 20 to 25 minutes that we interact. Some weeks it'll be about me, and some weeks I'll read you a letter of a man who is finally bold enough to say it out loud. Of course, anonymously. We will sit around it together so you realize you're not the only one in the struggle. If what you're hiding is porn, that's what you've never been able to say out loud. I wrote something for you. I put it together in a guidebook and I called it Unhooked. It is the faith side of things and the actual science behind what it's doing to your brain. Brothers, there's no shame in that. It is just a way out. I put it in the description. It will be there and always will be there whenever you're ready. And if you're carrying something you've never been able to tell anyone, please write to me anonymously. I put the form in the description. I promise you I read every letter, and your letter may just be our next episode. I write to young men every week on dust and breath. You will also find the link in the description. So welcome back to B's Corner Podcast. I'm excited to have you back. Please do one thing before you go off from this episode. Write something in the comment section. Not your name, of course, just that thing you've been hiding. And you realize you're not the only one. I promise you that.